Hey guys, welcome back. So today we are going to pot up our pepper plants and our tomato plants and also our ground cherries, which we were successful at growing from seed this year. Let's hope I don't ruin this. I started my seeds a little bit early than I should have, but I've had incredible success. I'll show you in just a second. They are looking good. I was hoping that by the time I potted them up that it would be time to put them in the greenhouse, but this coming week they're calling for a couple of nights that are in the 20s, 20 degrees Fahrenheit, and I'm too scared to put them in the greenhouse. I'm afraid that it's going to get too cold in there for them, and I don't really want to add a heat source if I don't have to, but they need to be potted up, so I've got to do it. Let's just hope they last another week in the house. I don't have room for all of them, but I'm going to try to put them as close to a light source as I can. Hopefully they'll be okay until I can put them outside. But let me show you what I've done so far, and then we'll get to the potting up process. All right, so this is what is happening. Aren't they lovely? But they are crowded. They are unhappy right now because they are so crowded. Yesterday I pulled them from underneath the light because they were actually being smashed. They had grown so tall that the lights were pressing on them and pressing down on them. So I put them upstairs, and these are the pepper plants. These are the two tomatillos, and these are the ground cherries. Now I hope that when I separate these, because there's like 3 or 4 in one container, I hope that I don't damage the roots, I hope. But I'm thinking, do you see those? Those are already flower buds forming. I'm gonna have to pinch those off, I believe, because I don't know. Should I? I think I should. Maybe I'll look it up. All right, I needed some more seed starting mix, so I've got that ready to go. It's cooling down still because I just did it this morning. Yep, it's still warm. And then I'm going to add some 10-10-10 fertilizer, mix that in, and then some worm castings and mix that in real well. And that's what I'm going to use to fill these pots, and that will feed the plants as I water them and as they grow. At this point, they need some food. They need some fertilizer, they need some worm castings, they need something to keep them as beautiful as they are right now. So a couple reasons why you'd want to up pot. One would be the plant has outgrown its pot and it needs a bigger pot so that it can grow bigger. You don't want your plants to get root bound, so if you leave them in the same container and they continue to try to grow, they can get root bound, where the roots actually start to wrap around the container that they're in. At that point, they need to be put in a bigger pot. Now for me, the reason why I'm doing it is because I have more than one plant in each pot. Some of these have 4, possibly 5 plants to them, so they definitely need their own pot. So when you start seeds, you can start multiple seeds in each container. One reason being that you don't know how many will germinate. So you wouldn't want to put one seed in one pot and it not germinate, and there you've wasted your time with the seed. So this year I did around 4 seeds per pot. That way I could sow several tomatoes in a smaller space. But now they've grown out of that space and I need to separate them into their individual pots. I'm going to use the same size pots. So these 2 by 2. As you can see, there's 4 plants. So 1, 2, 3, 4. This one pot is going to give me 4 individual plants. Now I talked about this in another video, actually the planting the peppers video. I talked about this. I'm going to try, it's called Myco Bliss. It says that it promotes vigorous plant root growth, decreases the amount of watering and fertilization that you need, enables the soil to retain nutrients for longer and increase nutrient use efficiency, healthier and denser root systems, improves ability to get nutrients and water uptake from the soil, and it reduces transplant shock. Apply Myco Bliss granular or powder mix when transplanting directly in contacts with roots or at the bottom and sides of the transplant. Since I'm up potting, I'm just going to sprinkle a little bit on the roots before I put the plant in the hole. It says it treats over 100 plants per pound. And this is one pound. So I've got a lot more than 100 plants. So I'm just going to use it very sparingly. Smells like tomatoes in here. Well, it smells like tomato plants. So I've got a bunch of pre-filled pots already, and the soil is moistened. I think we're gonna get started with the peppers first. So I'll do a pepper, and then I'll do a tomato and a ground cherry, and I'll show you each one. So I'm gonna label each pot, and I'm just gonna use masking tape because I do plan on selling the extra starts that I have, and these little tags sometimes get knocked out, and I worry that I'll sell the wrong thing. So I'm just going to make sure that I have the actual label directly attached to the pot that I'm selling. So these are the Ancho Gigantia peppers. So I'm going to take each pot and I'm going to make a hole all the way down to the bottom. Right in the center. Then you'll gently work them out. You can see they're doing okay. The roots haven't really wrapped around too much. And then you're going to gently work them apart, trying not to break as many roots as you can. And then knock off some of the dirt. And then when you go to plant it, you can plant peppers a little bit up the stem, which is what I'm going to do. Oh, I forgot to do the Myco Bliss. Is just take a tiny little dab and sprinkle it right into the hole of each one. I think that should contact the roots. And you're just going to drop it down. Can you see that? You see I'm burying it a little deeper onto the stem. And then I'm going to pack the soil nicely around it. There you go. And you're going to want to water them. Now let's do this next one. So again, I've got that little powder in the hole. And I'm gonna, sometimes doing this is a little easier if the soil is drier. And you're just gonna drop it down gently, work it into the hole, and then again, pack the dirt around the stem. one other little one. And we're gonna drop it, but it's got a nice root. I'm gonna drop it down in there. It probably just wasn't getting enough light. It was getting crowded by the other ones. So now it should do okay. And then I've got one more. See how the roots are to this one. Yeah, that's pretty good. We'll pot it up too. See if it'll make a comeback. So now we'll do a tomato. So this one is called Bali. And let's label the pots. As you can see, the roots, you're going to damage them when you're getting these out. They will probably suffer what's called transplant shock, but they usually recover in a day or so, as long as you water them right afterwards. Just try to be as gentle as you can. Let's see if I can get these out of here. I'm just going to have to break these roots off of here. Sorry. Kind of give it a squeeze. And then, okay. So there you can see the root systems. Still okay. Still hasn't, you know, started to like really coil. So, once again, we're going to separate these as best you can. And I'm probably a little late potting these up. You might want to do it a week earlier, but these were growing like crazy. And I just didn't have time last week, so. All right, so just start to pull them apart. You're gonna hear roots breaking. I know I'm cringing too. I don't know if you can see those little fibers coming off of the stem, but a tomato plant is a vine. Where the stem touches the ground, it will put down roots. I am actually going to bury these as deep as I can in the pot, hoping that it will make the plant even stronger because it will grow roots from the stem. So we're going to make a hole. Nice big one because there's lots of roots. And then we're going to sprinkle in into the hole here. And then try to place the tomato plant with all its roots, as many as we could get, as far down as we can. So I would have liked to have buried that a little bit more, but it was kind of hard. I think that'll be okay though. So I'm pushing, getting the stem down as deep as I can, and then adding dirt. Up around the stem. So now I'll be able to put these under the light again because they're shorter. Oh, and I forgot to say, the bottom leaves here, you want to pluck those off before you bury it. So the little leaves that I plucked off, those are the ones that were inside the little seed that sprouted. Let's try our hand at the ground cherries now. These are the Lowen family heirloom ground cherries, and there's 1, 2, 3, there's 5 plants in here. Oh gosh, and one of them is like really flowering hard. So we're gonna try to do the same thing. Oh, I'm so nervous. I'm just trying to tease them apart as best I can. And it's just gonna be the same thing. Putting each one, and I forgot to label, so label first. On the ground cherries, since I've never grown them successfully before, this is actually the first time I'm getting a good look at them. And they look like they also have the little fibers on the stem like tomatoes do. So I'm thinking you can bury them deep as well. And I'm already starting to see some side shoots. A little early for you, little guy. I don't know, guys. Should I pinch the flowers off? I think I might. Tell me if I'm wrong. Tell me if I shouldn't have done that. So 1 container of ground cherries has now given me 5 containers of ground cherry. I've got a lot of work to do today. This is going to take me quite a while. If anybody's local and is interested in purchasing any extra tomato starts or pepper starts, please let me know. I'm probably selling them for between $3 and $5 a piece. So it is a mess in here, but I have had to move my operation into my living room. So I'm in the living room now because I wanted to watch TV while I did this because it was taking 1,000 times longer than I thought it would. So I had said that I was going to put these all in these smaller pots right here. But when I got to some of them, as you can see, these poor guys right here, they were only being held up straight by the plants beside them. And they are so long that I could stick them down into this cup, which would give them stronger root systems. So I decided to break out my last year's solo cups that I used and pot up the really tall ones that were what's called leggy, so trying to compete for the light, and some of them just weren't as strong. So you see those are doing okay, and then these are sad. I hope they bounce back. Oh my gosh, I have been at this for 4 days now. I started Thursday midday, and I have been off and on trying to up pot all the tomatoes, peppers, ground cherries, and it is now Sunday, 5 o'clock, and I'm down to my last 6 types. So we'll start with one of these bigger ones here. So I just labeled, I think I had said that I had to go with bigger cups for some of them because they were just way too tall, way too leggy. Some of them didn't even want to stand up on their own. Pushing the pot on all the sides around. Shaking them out. I take some of my, what's this stuff called again? Sprinkling it on all sides here. And I really hope that these tomatoes make it, because I'm really having to rip those roots apart, but guess we'll find out. Now I've got my big bucket of dirt here, and I'm just giving myself a big pile to work. Yes, I've made quite the mess. Every year I go through this same ordeal where I start the uppotting process and I'm like, why do I do this to myself? And some people don't. They just pinch off the ones they don't want. And when I say pinch off, basically they just decapitate the plants that they don't want. They pick the strongest one, and then they just, so if they planted 4 seeds and all 4 seeds sprouted, they'll just clip, 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 and then just leave like the biggest one in the pot. I have a hard time doing that. So what I'm doing right now is I'm going through this pile of dirt and I'm taking out any like twigs and stuff, because as those kinds of things break down, they will rob your plants of the nitrogen that they need. So I'm just getting rid of all of those. And what was I saying? I was talking about, reason why I can't decapitate and just keep one. My fear is that that one will end up not making it into the garden, and I will have ruined 3 other chances to have a viable plant because I just whacked them. It's whacked to them. It's whacked to them. Just making sure no sticks or anything. I'm actually gonna get rid of these leaves here. And I'm pinching off the lower leaves, filling the cup, and then I'm watering them immediately after. So pinching off the lower leaf. This is my scrap pile. This is all the twigs and leaves and